This is the plaintiff, Asia Renee Alexander. She says she was a member at the defendant's dance studio and was enrolled in one of her pole dancing classes. While she was in class, she was hanging on a pole, put her foot down onto the wood floor, and her big toe got caught in a gap in the wood, and she ripped her entire toenail clean off. Needless to say, she now has hospital bills. Her foot looks disgusting. She's in excruciating pain, and that's why she's suing the careless defendant for $10,000, the amount she's most definitely owed. This is the defendant, Emma Ridley. She says she owns a studio that teaches many dance classes, including burlesque, belly, hula hoop, and pole dancing. All students sign a waiver stating everyone dances at their own risk due to the nature of the classes she offers. Besides, her floor is in fine condition. The pieces fit together like a puzzle, and there are no holes or gaps in it. Now, 2 years later, the plaintiff gets it in her head to sue her for some kind of stubbed toe? Really? She's accused of owning a pole that takes its toll.
All parties, please raise your right hand. Be seated. Come to order. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Alexander, you are suing Goddess Fitness Dance and Emma Ridley, you're the owner?
Yes.
For $10,000 in medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering, and an inappropriately charged dance fee. Because according to you, due to her negligence, you ended up having your toenail ripped off.
Yes.
Ouch. Tell me what happened.
I was a member at the dance studio for a couple years. I went into a dance class that day. It was a pole class, and
how much were you paying by the month or by the class?
By the month, $200 a month to dance there.
How often would you attend dance classes?
Like 5 days a week.
Okay.
4 to 5 days a week. And the day that I was in there, the room is always kept dark. So we're dancing, and
this was a pole dancing class?
A pole dancing class,
okay.
Yeah. And I do this for fitness. It's, for fitness. And
I don't judge you.
Okay. Okay. It is a great workout.
No, it looks like a tremendous workout whenever I see somebody else do. Sometimes I'm really impressed with the heft of the people who are doing it. That's when it's real. I mean, when I see some skinny girl doing it, I don't really care. But when I see somebody who's like pushing 200 doing it and doing it that well, it's amazing. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was dancing, and I was using the pole to get up off of the floor in my routine that I was doing. And there was a gap in the wood floorboards that I didn't see, but my toe got stuck.
Were you wearing sneakers?
No,
you don't
barefoot.
wear sneakers. When you barefoot?
Dance
completely barefoot.
Yeah. I had socks on that day.
Right, sometimes, but no shoes.
No shoes.
Okay.
And there was a gap in the floor that I didn't see, and so as I was dancing, my toe got stuck in it, and it just acted like a lever, and it ripped the nail off of my big toe.
Ouch.
Completely. And I blacked out for a few seconds. That's how bad it hurt. And I just fell out on my back, and my eyes were closed. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe for a minute. That's how painful it was.
And now they actually stopped the class, right?
No, they didn't realize anything was going on because it's dark. Everyone's dancing.
You're on your back. They don't realize it.
Yeah, I think
man down. Nobody realizes it? Because I would imagine they'd realize it.
Yeah, we danced, on the floor too, so doing floor work. And
isn't everybody synchronized?
No. This part of the class is a free dance, so you're expressing.
When
yourself.
did anybody ever finally realize it?
Yeah, it just took a couple.
Oh, okay.
Probably a minute, and my witness
Come
here
on
with
up.
me.
Were you an instructor, or were you part of the class?
No, I was in the class as well.
What did you see happen? When did you notice
I was also dancing, and it is very dark in there. And at one point, I looked over and I saw Asia on the ground, and I kind of thought at first she was just doing some floor work, and then I did stop. She had kind of been seated
At some point,
up.
she's holding her foot, right?
She was holding her foot, and it was really dark, and I really couldn't see. And she's like, "It hurts so bad. I don't know what happened." When the free dance is only the length of one song. When the song was over and the lights came up, you could see that there was blood coming through her white sock.
Oh. So did you take the sock off?
Eventually, I limped out of the room, out of the studio, and I slowly peeled off the sock, and the nail was just sticking up and sideways, and you could see that the root from under the skin was there, and I do have the pictures from how that looked. And that's when I
Okay,
realized
let's see them.
it was worse than I even realized.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to see this.
And it felt worse than it even looks.
I've had a nail ripped. I know exactly how much it hurts.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I've had a toenail. Oh my gosh, I can't even look at it. Oh, God almighty. Oh, that is rough, honey.
It was awful.
That is rough. Okay, so what did you do? Where'd you go from there?
I was talking myself into just going home and figuring I could take care of it myself or something, but Tina was saying you're gonna have to go to urgent care. You're gonna have to. It's that bad. But I was so terrified. I am deathly afraid of needles. I knew this meant I was probably gonna have to get a shot or something, and I don't know what they're gonna do. I didn't want to go, but I finally had to.
What is this a picture of? The crack?
That's the gap in the floor. Yeah.
When was this picture taken?
Afterward.
How? Well, obviously. How long afterward?
The next day.
The next day. Who took the picture?
I did.
Yeah.
You
I took
did.
the
And how did you take the picture?
With my iPhone.
Does that crack have a piece of tape on it?
It did at one point.
But not at the point of this picture?
No.
Is that blood?
Yes. Yeah. The next day.
And that was
Whose idea was it to put the dollar bill there so I could see the scale?
Mine.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Afterward, I found out that the floor had been taped. The teachers taped it up so that no one would get hurt because they did notice it.
How did you find that out?
Tina told me.
Right.
And the teachers got yelled at by the owner for having tape on the floor because she said she didn't want...
Do you have any evidence of that?
I have their statements, yes.
Can I see their statements?
Yes.
What's going on?
I own a dance studio. I do get the floors checked periodically. I brought wood to show you. It is a pergo flooring. It does fit in pieces like a puzzle.
Yeah, but they're supposed to be secure and not gap, and especially in a dance studio.
I understand that. I felt extremely sorry, and I did offer to pay. The next day, I left her a message. I wasn't there. I was at another location, and I wasn't at this studio, when the incident happened.
Is it true that your instructors had put tape down to protect your students, and that you had told them to lift the tape up because it looked trashy?
No.
Can you imagine why any instructors would lie in unison like that and say, because according to you, there's nothing wrong with the floor.
Right.
Except for that I have pictures of something wrong with the floor.
It did shift and things did move. So
but that's not what you said in your answer to the complaint before you knew that they had pictures. In your answer to the complaint, what you say is that the floor is perfectly fine and there's nothing wrong with the floor.
It's a movable, it's a lifted floating floor.
I don't know what that means, because a lifted floating floor has to do with what's under the floor. It doesn't mean your floor actually moves around and floats, okay?
It means there's concrete.
And especially not at a dance studio, because people can get really hurt. What do you think is going to happen?
I wasn't at that location. I was building another location, so...
Let me tell you what two people say who were instructors at your studio. The studio had wooden floors that were installed by sliding the boards together. That's how these floors work. Over time, the boards started sliding apart in different directions in the studio, leaving gaps. That's when you get the floor fixed. I informed Emma Ridley of this problem many times, but nothing was ever done to fix the gaps. I, along with other dance instructors, put tape over the gaps on the floor to keep the students and ourselves from injury. Emma Ridley took the tape off and told myself and other instructors to stop putting tape on the floors because it made the studio look bad and was drawing attention to the fact that the floors were not in good shape. She told us to kick the floorboards together to eliminate the gaps, but that did not work well, and the boards would separate again very quickly.
I did get...
True or not true?
I did say that I'm going to get a guy to come in and make sure they're all shifted back together. I did tell them to take the tape off the floor. It would leave sticky residue, and you'd get your feet stuck, and you couldn't dance. Everything is classical ballet and yoga based. It's a very slow, esoteric movement. Pole dancing is not stripping. It's very different, and you're very controlled and very slowed, and it's not aerobics. So it's not damaging to your body.
To have a gap in the floor that your foot might get caught in? Was it damaging to your body to have a gap in the floor that your foot might get caught in?
Very.
Okay.
Okay, here's the other issue. She
didn't get hurt while pole dancing and then sued you because she pulled a groin. She got hurt because of your negligence in not maintaining your floors. This isn't rocket science, Ms. Ridley. It's very easy. If you care about your students and you care about your business and you understand that you're going to get sued when someone gets injured, $400, then you spend the $400 to fix the floor or you pay the consequences.
Here's a waiver, a very in-depth waiver that everybody signs.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if she had pulled a groin, as I said, if she pulled a groin doing pole dancing and then she sued you because she said you hired a pole dancing instructor who was not qualified to teach because she didn't teach me to move this way, I would tell her, lady, get out of here. You signed a waiver. This is different. This waiver does not excuse negligence. You can't waive negligence, okay? She assumes the risk of hurting herself pole dancing, but not hurting herself because you don't maintain your floors. Now, after this happened, did you get the floor fixed?
I did.
How much did it cost you to get it fixed?
$80. Someone just came and made sure the wood was all
glued so that
pushed.
it wouldn't keep moving
It's
apart.
not glued.
What did they do for $80?
They just made sure the edges were all pushed in. And they said, if it happens again, just have your instructors push with their feet.
That's what you did to fix it? You paid somebody to push it like the same way you could have pushed it? I don't think you're being honest. I think that you paid him to actually fix it, and all it cost was $80.
There wasn't any.
Apparently, that's the value on your nail.
Yeah.
$80. All right.
I was willing to pay the hospital costs. I just think $7,000 in personal pain and suffering, $2,000 for a chiropractor, $2,000 for brand new shoes or everything else she's listed in.
So what were you willing to pay? When she submitted, did you ever submit the bills to her?
Yes. What happened, she did contact me a couple days later. She left me a voicemail apologizing and saying that she would pay the urgent care bill. So I called her at that point, realizing, well, it's not just urgent care. Now I have to have follow-ups. I missed a few days of work because I'm a massage therapist. I work on my feet, and I couldn't do it. So I called to let her know these things, and then she ignored my calls. She didn't call me back.
Do you have any independent evidence besides your testimony of how many days you missed of work?
I have, yes.
I saw a typewritten piece of paper you prepared for court that
Okay.
states how much you say you lost. That is not the same as what I'm asking.
Okay.
I would like proof of the amount that you're asking for. In other words, do you work at a place? Are you an employee
I'm
of a
an
place?
independent contractor.
Okay. Do you have any statements from all these people that they had appointments? Because there are independent contractors and there are independent contractors. Some people are very busy. Some people are not very busy.
Right. No, the thing that I have is my schedule from that day showing what
Okay,
appointments.
but you don't. What you have, let me see what you have. What you have is a typewritten piece of paper saying what you say you missed. Is that what you're calling your schedule?
Well, this is my actual schedule where I write my appointments every day, and that's the most that I have. And I also
Show me your medical bills. What ended up happening? You went to urgent care
Yes.
and
I
they
went
had to take the nail off?
Yeah, they put, she had to put 6 needles in my toe because it was that painful. And
But what
because-
were the 6 needles for? Anesthesia?
Yeah, for anesthesia, because the root had
It's
come
not
out.
6 needles. It's 6 times
6
that the needle
times.
touches
I don't know what
you.
it was. I know that I was miserable. I was in tears.
Each one is a new needle. Okay.
I know it was happening constantly. And so she had to remove the nail completely. And afterward, I was just bandaged up, but it was excruciating pain after that.
Okay, and you're suing for 2 pairs of shoes that you had to buy that were bigger sizes so that you could actually...
Yeah, because I had a trip scheduled after this. I was supposed to go.
Oh, you were able to go on the trip?
Yeah.
So you weren't able to work for 3 days, but you were able to go to New Orleans?
Yeah, because it was already scheduled.
For Mardi Gras?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
What'd you do
I
at Mardi
couldn't
Gras?
cancel my whole trip, because of this.
I'm teasing you a little bit because it sounds kind of bad, but I understand that your line of work is not sitting at a desk. It's
Right.
actually standing up and,
Yeah.
it's a little bit harder. But anyway, go on.
So, it did ruin my trip because I couldn't walk around like I normally would be able to.
So how did you walk around?
Limped around, and it affected my back. It hurt.
Why don't you just stay put then if it hurt so much?
Because, I was trying not to ruin my whole trip. I didn't want to miss out on something I had planned a year before.
Okay.
I had to get those shoes in order to get my foot in them. And I didn't go, spend any extravagant money.
No, it's for 2 shoes, it was $43. You're not asking for a ton of money on that. Now, according to you, she actually charged you for March?
Yes.
She
On top
charged
of
you
all
on March
this.
12th the dance fee?
Yes.
But you had already canceled by February because this happened on February 5th.
I think it was.
So you had already canceled in February with a doctor's note, and she charged you for March. Can you show me proof that she charged you for March?
Yeah, that's in the stack of bills that I gave you.
Okay. And The $7,664.54 that you are suing for is for pain and suffering. That's the part that you take the most issue with, of course, because you think that it's excessive, and you feel it's excessive because 3 days later she's at Mardi Gras, woo, and then you feel that it's not because. I need to hear about your pain and suffering.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. So how much money should this plaintiff get for pain and suffering for a ripped out toenail?
I think the $3,000.
$3,000. How'd you come to that?
Yes, because you have to pay the medical.
No. It's not about medical bills. It's about all the hurt and anguish you feel.
Oh, okay. Maybe $1,000.
You're really cheap.
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you think?
I think maybe 3,000. I mean, that's some gross stuff that happened.
It's not that it's gross. It's that it makes you wince because it's so painful, right?
And it's gross. Like you.
Okay, it's gross. Okay, it's gross. Going inside the courtroom.
I had to have the bandages changed. That was awful because the bandage gets stuck to the skin, the raw skin, and you have to, tear that away. Going to the follow-up visits were awful. They would pick and prod at the toe. It was very, very painful. I couldn't sleep at night. This was in the beginning because it would wake me up from throbbing. And still to this day, unfortunately, it took a year for the nail to grow back, and it did, but I still have sensitivity. So when I dance or do yoga, I can't always do it full out.
Okay, and let me hear your response.
3 days after this happened, she is in Mardi Gras, so I don't see what there's pain and suffering in having,
Perhaps I should rip out your toenail and you'll see the pain and suffering. And however, I am with you here. Show her those two pictures and tell me what I'm supposed to do with them. What are these pictures of that you're going to show me here?
Just the studio and the floor.
Let me see them.
That's not even where I was at. That's a different building.
It's the same floor. We've used the same floor.
That's not the actual studio where it happened?
Well, the actual location is closed now.
Okay.
So this is the current location. That we've used the same floor in 7 different locations.
Okay, I want you to see the two pictures that I handed over there of the nail and the gap. And I want to ask you, as a business owner, do you feel that you are responsible for her nail being ripped out?
Yes, I do.
Because you did not maintain the floor.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And
your medical costs are $1,275.98. So you don't dispute that. What do you disagree about?
If she'd have been in real pain, she would have to have canceled her vacation.
I think you were in pain, and I understand why you went. But it's kind of hard to look me in the eye and say I'm $7,000 in pain and I was partying in Mardi Gras on day 4.
Well, I wasn't really partying.
You had to limp around a party?
I was there. I actually went with my family, and I would have been out of even more money if I hadn't gone on that trip.
Yeah, okay.
And
so here's my ruling. I find in your favor in the amount of the medical bills. I find in your favor in the amount of the shoes that you were forced to buy. I find in your favor in the amount of the dance fee for one of the 2 months that wasn't returned to you already. That's $1,515.46. As for your lost wages and pain and suffering, I believe that you're entitled to something. It's kind of tough when you're a solo to prove how many people, but it's not that tough. If you gave me an affidavit from each of those people saying, I had an appointment scheduled and it was canceled on me, these are your clients. Presumably you're able to do that. Because otherwise you could just fill in your little book, take a copy of it and tell me, look at me, I make, this much money a day. So that's kind of difficult, particularly when you're in Mardi Gras on day 4. But I think this is painful. And I think that you're entitled to something for your pain and suffering, particularly when it would have taken $80 to keep everybody safe there. I think that's just despicable. I find that you're entitled to an additional $2,500 for pain and suffering, bringing your judgment in the amount of $4,015.46. Pay the lady.
So the plaintiff has collected not everything she sued for. What's your thought on the outcome of the case here first?
I just think she's an opportunist. She thought that I was going to just hand it over to
You saw the picture, right?
To my insurance company. But, I do apologize if the floor had a gap in it. You do dance at your own risk.
You understand that your waiver doesn't indemnify you against negligence, in other words, problems with the floor.
Now I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my waiver is pretty in depth.
You still do the pole dancing classes and do all that stuff?
Yes. Would you like to come take a class?
Maybe. All right, head right around the corner there. And Let's see what the plaintiff has to say about collecting, but not everything you sued for.
Yeah, I feel, a little disappointed on the amount because I do feel that there was a lot more suffering to it and pain, but I'm still, happy with that.
All right, and you still taking classes? Is that your form of exercise
It
still?
is my form of exercise still at a different studio.
Right, but it's pole dancing, right?
Yes.
Is that good exercise?
It's wonderful exercise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good luck. Harvey?
Thank you.
Pain and suffering, when judges award this, it's totally subjective. I mean, there are people who say there are formulas, 2.5 times the actual medical bills. That's almost never true. It's a very subjective thing for judges and can vary from one judge to another.